Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So we're going to do a Memorydex Monday and I'm catching up with week 13 of the Memorydex Weekly Challenge. This one's Put It in a Pocket. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so I have done a little bit of preparation for this one. This is the shape I want to use sort of for the bottom of the jeans. But it's not the right colour. So I've gone ahead and found some denim paper. This is out of the Kaisercraft base coat paper pack, and I just got it from Spotlight. So I'm just going to grab the denim paper out, and we're going to cut 2 copies of this. I'm going to cut one on plain white cardboard because it needs to be a little bit sturdier than the paper, and then another one out of the actual cardstock. So all I'm going to do is trace around the shape I've already got onto the white paper and cut it out, and then we're going to stick it onto the patterned paper, and then we'll trace that around as well. The only thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to cut the leg space, because when I did this I punched the Memorydex bit and it's just the wrong shape. Not the wrong shape, the wrong size, sorry. So I want to make sure that I get it right this time, so I'm going to punch the Memorydex bit first and then I'll go ahead and put the leg space in. So I'm just going to cut this out just with scissors and I'll be right back. So it doesn't have to be the exact same shape. I'm not worried about that at all. This is just a shape I traced, well not traced, I've kind of sketched out myself sort of what I think jeans look like. That's sort of where I came with that. And then we're going to stick this down onto the paper and then just cut out around it. I'm just trying to find the right spot for it, because there's different colours and bits and pieces. I reckon just there will be fine, because these are the pockets that I've done. I'm going to show you, I just stitched these. The pockets themselves are out of, it's a Kaisercraft collection. I think it's called Mountain Air. I'll double check it. And I've just seriously cut them out of the pattern paper. The pattern paper looks like this. All I did was cut them out and then sewed them on. And I'm going to show you how I did the sewing when we do the stitching down the side of here. So I'm going to stick this down and then cut around it. But I think I'll just cut the 12 by 12 paper down first so that I'm working with a bit less. So just put that there. Plenty to make something else later with it. And then you can either do this with liquid glue or with glue tape, doesn't really matter. I'm just using liquid glue because I have found, so things I've been learning while I've been playing with the different kinds of glue, that you get a better bond. There's less paper pilling up at the sides when you use liquid glue. Stick that down. Oops, I was going to say it needs to be straight on the bottom. I didn't know that. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut out around the shape. There we go. I know it doesn't look like a butt now, but we'll fix that. So to try and add in some shadows, I'm just going to grab my Chip Sapphire Distress Oxide and my blending brush. And I'm just using it just to add a little bit of shadow around the edge. And then just for now, I'm going to leave it as just that. But I do want to bring in the ink again after I've cut the legs, because I want to kind of add that butt shape. So the ink's obviously an extra step. You don't have to do it. I just feel like you'd never see a piece of denim that was just flat like this. So I'm just adding just a little bit of shadow to it to make it look a little bit rounder. Alright, so for the stitching, I've grabbed some gold kind of denim jeans coloured cotton, And all I'm going to do is just stitch down the side. Now, if you've ever seen jeans actually have a double stitching most of the time. They do for the pockets on these ones, but not on this one. This one's a 1, this one was a 2. So I'm going to try 1 and see what it looks like and see if I like it. Now, I cheat a little bit when it comes to any time I'm stitching, and rather than actually sticking the needle through the paper, which I find gives you a bit of a rough edge, I go along and poke holes in it and then just stitch through. So this one's a little bit more complicated, I guess, than the ones I did with here because I was following along. But basically all I'm going to do is just poke a hole right in the top corner, and then I'm just going to sort of do little holes or holes the whole way down the edge here, leaving a little bit of room because you don't want it too close to the edge. You don't have to push all the way through, you just need to sort of make that whole space, is that the right word? Just the impression of it, just so you can kind of follow the needle along with it. So this is just a Cricut poking tool, but any kind of poking tool will be fine. You don't need to use a special kind. You can use a skewer if you don't have one of these. If you just got a metal skewer in the kitchen, that'll do the same thing. But I'm mostly just using a mat just so that I don't hurt my glass mat. I'm just trying to keep the same sort of gap between them all. So once I've got that, I'm just going to go ahead and grab in a normal kind of needle. There's nothing special about this, it's just a normal sewing needle. And then just get the edge of my thread. Yeah. Now I'm one of these weird people that would prefer to do too much thread and throw some away, but if you're the kind of person that would prefer to be a bit more thrifty with the thread, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and thread the needle, which I'm actually really horrible at, but we'll give it a shot. First time. Now I don't like putting any knots in here because I don't need them. So always come in from the back when you're starting the first one. And then it's completely up to you whether you want to stick this down now so you've got something solid to sort of pull against, or if you just want to leave it and hang it off the edge. I do find it slightly easier to have something solid, so I just use some normal sticky tape. Washi tape's fine as well, just to hold that down. And it's as simple as just doing a normal kind of simple stitch the whole way around. Jean stitching isn't particularly complicated, so you don't have to worry about that. And it's just the simple in and out stitch the whole way down. When I finish this side, I'll decide if I'm going to do a second one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this really quick and I'll be right back. So I've got to the end here and I'm not loving how it's looking, so I think I'm going to do the double stitch. So all I'm going to do is just come straight back up the other side. So I'm just going to put the same holes in basically the same spots the whole way up, and then it'll look like that double stitch. Something I've noticed along the way, and I think it's because when I was doing this for the pockets, trying to keep the holes in the right spot, I was only going through one bit of paper, and now obviously I'm going through a bit of party paper and a bit of cardboard. So just need to push a little bit harder on my piercing tool here, but that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to do it for the other side as well. So this will be a bit longer without me talking, but I will be back in just a sec. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show you sort of how I flip this over. So all I've done, I got to the end here and I finished on the front, and I didn't want that stitch on the front. So I've just gone back through to the back, and then I'll just come straight up this side. So it's nothing fancy at all, but it was just double backing on my stitch a little bit just to get me back on the right side. Now that I'm back on the right side, it's just going straight back up the edge again. Alright, so I finished all the stitching and I'm just going to stick this last bit down. So I just, again, use a little bit of tape. It's not rocket science. I've got to work out how to hide this in the end, but we're not there yet. Alright, do I love my stitching? No, it's certainly not straight, but it's fine. It's fine. I do wish two things. I had been a little bit closer away from the edge on this side because I feel like I'm a little too close. And I wish I had used doubled over the cotton, because then it would have been just a little bit, the colour would have been a bit stronger. And the reason the colour is more strong on this one is because it's got the pattern underneath it. So, yeah. Alright, so now we're going to get the punch in and put that in, and then we can work out where the legs are going to go. So all I'm doing is just using the markings on the Memorydex punch to kind of work out where this needs to sit. It needs a bit of a big punch because it's got 2 bits of cardboard. And then this is going to be the fun part, because I need to work out where this leg goes. Because in an ideal world, we might have to do sort of like a weird shaped leg. So I guess they're not usually straight, are they? Anyway, so we're just kind of going to go. So I'm sketching it in. That's all I'm doing. So it's just going to be a very skinny kind of gap between the legs. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Now there is going to be that very skinny gap between the holes and the legs, but that's okay. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad. I should have gone the other way, but that's alright. So, actually, sometimes you just have to play with the shape. That's alright. So I am going to do just a little bit of shading just with the ink. I'm actually grabbing that piece of scrap that we cut off the top here, and I'm not putting any more ink on my brush. I'm just using that, and I'm just trying to put a shadow because you don't have a plain bit of pants. I might need to use black. Blue worked on the other one, but I don't think it's going to work on here. So just grab black soot out, and I also grabbed a smaller blender brush just so I can do a bit more detail here. It's just a light shadow, it's nothing massive, but it's just enough to kind of give it a bit of texture, because it just didn't quite have enough for me. Alright, so sticking the pockets on is seriously this easy. I'm going to just put glue around the outside. I think I'm just going to use actually, I'm going to use double-sided tape. I'm going to use really skinny double-sided tape. This is from Express It. Are my skinnies? No. I thought I had a skinny one. I do. The only reason I'm using the skinny is because I still do want to be able to put something into these pockets, and then if you use the double-sided tape, I'm then covering over the stitching as well, so it's kind of reinforcing the stitching at the same time as using it to glue something down. So I'm just running that along the edge. So obviously not putting it on the top because we still want this to work as a pocket. So there's on one. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Obviously the other side's just got a little bit more stitching, but that's doesn't change anything. If the really little bits of tape, I don't save those. That's only the bigger bits that I kind of try and reuse. Got to be a little bit clever. So just peeling off the tape. First of all, I don't have any fingernails, so this is really difficult. If the tape moves, just use your finger to poke it back down again, because it's not 100% adhered, but it will be once you push the other side down. Now I know it looks like a slightly different kind of denim across the two, but I kind of like the contrast. Only thing when you are pulling up this double-sided tape, just be careful not to get your scissors, your tweezers in any of the stitches, because pulling them up might not help you. Probably have these going down the leg just a little bit too much, but I think that's okay. All right. So I need this to have one more thing on it because it just doesn't look quite right to me. I feel like I need a belt. So it kind of needs to be like a leather. I don't think I have anything leather. So I could use a bit of paper, or I could use something like this. Oh, actually I like that one. So these are two bits of, so there's these are just bits of cotton, bits of twine that I have in my cupboard. I think I'll just add a little bit of colour to it, just make it just a little bit darker. I'm just going to try a bit. I'll just ink a little bit of it up. I just happen to have vintage photo on my desk. I'm just going to use this to kind of just add a little bit of colour, just see what it looks like. If it doesn't work, I've always got more to put. Go back to the other side. The good thing is this is darkening up the light and the dark bit. Nice if it would sit still. So it's got even more of that contrast. I'm just going to put just a little bit more ink on this. I'm going to stick it down using liquid glue because that's going to stick better. So stick it first and then trim off all the excess. So I'm just going to put a run of glue just along the top here. Make sure I go all the way to the edge. And then just line this up. I can always put some more ink on this if I feel like it needs it afterwards. So I get out my pegs. Just use my little pegs to hold this still while I work. I've got clips as well. Pegs, clips, whatever works. If there's anywhere I feel like it just isn't quite gluing enough, I'm just grabbing a little bit more and adding it. I did leave that for a really long time, so. Just that addition's actually really helped. It's made it look, I feel like I can see the stitching just a little bit better now. Pushing that down because it's a little bit too far on the top. And then we'll just cut off the excess. It will still fray at the edges, but that's alright. Just to stop that fray, I'm just going to grab a little bit of glue onto the edge. And that'll hold the edges together a little bit. You can use a brush if you don't want to get your finger sticky. And that'll dry clear, so you won't have to worry about that. Alright, so I think that's the main of it done. The fun bit is now that you can then put things in the pocket. So I'm just trying to find a bit of cardboard. Seriously, the amount of cardboard I have on my desk and I can't find any. So you can then put little things in the pockets. So I'm just trying to think if I want to put something in the pocket now. So I've just jumped into my pre-cut dies. This obviously won't be what lives in here, but I'm just sort of grabbing something just to show you what I kind of mean. So obviously this is not what I'm going to keep in here. I have a feeling I might put some flowers in here. That sort of seems to be the logical thing. But see, I can have penguins in my pockets, or I can have, I don't know, an otter in my pocket. I don't know, I'll change it up, but I'll put up a picture on Instagram later. But there you go, that's my Memorydex challenge card for put it in a pocket. This one was really hard for me and I skipped it because I put a lot of things in pockets. I'm very comfortable making pockets. Oh, that's a good one, Ryan. That's a much better idea. You're so clever. So this is, if you remember back, must have been the March favourites. We put lavender in our front yard and I grabbed some and I've been drying it. So I might put that in here. That's a very clever idea, Ryan. I'm just going to cut this down a little. Very much a cut it and then if it's too big, cut it again. Put the penguin back in the other pocket. Yeah, I had real trouble with it because I make pockets all the time, so I wanted to make something different. And this definitely is different. I know the denims don't match. I think if I did it again all over, I would just ink it rather than using these kind, and then it would all look like that one. But I do like the difference between the two. It'll sit really nicely in the box and it's just a different shape, and I'm really enjoying making cards that are a slightly different shape. So So that's it for this Memorydex challenge. I hope you did enjoy it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. If you want to join in with the challenge, it's definitely not too late, and you can use some of the time we've got on our hands right now to catch up. That's what I did. The hashtag on Instagram is just hashtag memorydexweekly, and the prompt will pop up every week with what the next theme is, and then you can keep going from there. I have actually caught up. This one's week 13, but we're up to about week 16 or 17, and I've actually caught up to that. This was just one year I skipped because I was having real issues with it. But let me know what you think, leave it down below, or find me on any of my socials. And don't forget to join in the challenge if you're interested. Hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!